And finally, when this kit computer, which is so limited, but it's the beginning of the revolution, when that comes out, then, Paul's argument we should go and do something, he wins because we don't want to be left behind. We want to be there from the very beginning. And then we meet a few people, although it was still a very small movement. We meet other people like Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs, who also, have been infected with this idea of, okay, we're on to something that is going to be huge.
That part, I mean, the research that you did to find in this book, every time I was reading, I was just like, how do you have so much detail? I was really blown away by the level of detail, both in the storytelling, every moment, but then even there's that note that you have that says, Steve Jobs called, was rude. And I was just like, even just having that back then, I was laughing as I read it. And I was wondering, like, I feel like as from the outside, and naturally, and you talk about this later on in the book, how we see people as this like slither of who they are, and people have a public profile and that becomes their brand. And if you look at it from the outside, you see Steve Jobs and yourself having this competition, envy, jealousy, kind of like arch rival, nemesis kind of portrayal. What was it actually like? Because in the book, it comes across much more inviting than that, as opposed to this kind of harsh rivalry.
Well, I had a fantastic relationship with Steve. Early on, I got to do the basic, which they called AppleSoft, that went with every Apple II computer. So I worked with both Jobs and Wozniak to get that done. Then later, as Steve has a kind of small group inside Apple doing the Macintosh, he invited Microsoft to write application software, a spreadsheet word processor for it. And so we actually had as many people as they did, and we worked very closely on that project. And he and I loved the fact that, that ended up being a key Apple product. Then he leaves Apple. I talked to him about Next, but I never thought that computer would do that well, so he was disappointed. But then when he goes back, and it's unbelievable what a great job he did, because Apple went from being on the way to dying to being the world's most valuable company. And Steve had really matured, and was something. And we helped write software for that.